Okay, here is the next step, and I'm gonna kind of straddle this thing. In fact, I'm gonna move the cap over. I'm gonna straddle this, and I'm just gonna kind of move my legs back and forth and try to break that caulking off of there and loosen this up at an angle. If you want, you can put your gloves on and do that. I'll get my gloves on here for you. Okay. I'm just going to use my leg and try to kick it off of there. See, I'm lifting up like that. Okay. Because I wasn't sure how much of that caulking I got on there. And if you have to do it any more than that, last thing you want to do is try to jerk this sucker off, because you could crack the toilet or something, or hurt your back or whatever. That's why you got to make sure you score that caulking pretty good. And I scored it. Okay, now I guess I'm going to let you watch this. I'm going to lift it off of there, and this thing is heavy, let me tell you. Very heavy. I've got my lumbar support on, and I've got to lift it up over those bolts. Remember, the bolts are up there, and then I've got to back it back a ways. Okay, I made sure the water is disconnected. I've got that disconnect. I got all the water out of the tank, all the water out of the bowl. I'm ready to now lift this off of here, aren't I? Well, did I eat my Wheaties this morning? No, I didn't. But I think I can still do it here. Okay. Use your legs. Try not to lift fully with your back. We don't want you hurting your back now. So I'm going to try to keep it squatted here best I can. Back it up. And let it down just very gently like that. Ooh. Now, I can slide that out of the way further. And I brought myself a towel here. I've got to figure out strategically how to do this here, because I'm ultimately going to have to lay this down on its side. Okay? Because that way I can clean off the bottom edge of the caulking, because I can't get down there, can I? So I've got to lower that down. The last thing I want to do is to have that crack. You know, that's the worst, my worst nightmare is thinking that I'm going to crack a toilet one of these times, and then, you know, what would happen after that? What would I have to do? I'm not even sure where you get a one-piece toilet that matches this existing one like this. Okay, now I'm gonna tilt it over this way, I believe, and I can have my little floor mat over here. Okay, I guess that's my next step, huh? I guess I can do that. Let's back you up here. Okay, let's back you up about there. Okay, right like that. Stick with me here. Now I can lift with my legs. Back it up a little bit. Like this. Okay. I think that's good. Right like that. And now I can lower that. I've got to be careful with this. Last thing I want is for this to slip out of my hands or anything. It's still very heavy. Okay. Just want to be careful with it. I got a little bit of water down in there, but that's all right. Okay. Oh man. Let this slip forward a little bit right there. I think. There. Okay. See, now I can scrape all this stuff off of here. That's all the caulking. That's all the caulking. And see, once I get the caulking off, see, I'll use a putty knife. And I'll be very careful along here, because I got to scrape all this stuff off. Okay? And to get down to there, I'm going to have to lift this toilet back up. I'm going to have to flip it around and carry it over here, and then swivel it down this way over to the right and get it. Okay? Enough of that. Now I've got to look at this wax ring and see what I have to do with that. That's our next step. I'm looking at this and finding something very interesting. Remember I said it looked like it was leaking out of the front? See how this was discolored all the way along here and even over here? Well, for that to get wet, this wax ring would have had to have failed in here. Then it would have had to drip down this way. And I should see, this should all be wet here. And it's not, is it? It's not. And see over here, there was a discoloration mark here. And they thought it was dripping out of that way. And see, the wax ring is all fine over here. But lucky for us, see the impression, the depression right here. Right along there. And this is kind of low there, and it looks like right there there's moisture. Okay, you see that right there? That's wet. This looks a little moist down in there, and we're on the second floor. Okay, down below here there's another ceiling and there's another toilet. If we would let this go and go and go, eventually it would drip down through the floor, around the Herkel flange, down through the floor joists, down through the sheetrock or the light fixture or the ceiling fan or the exhaust fan, and drip, 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 and you'd have the sheetrock would be moldy up above it, the insulation would be all wet and sagged and soggy, and you could have mold up in the sheetrock ceiling. So it's a good thing we're going ahead and doing this, okay? But just for this purpose, if you start seeing moisture, visible signs of possible moisture, chances are your toilet's going to be leaking. But you know what I usually do when I see that, I'll keep watch of it for a few months and see if it gets more pronounced, and then I'll make the decision. Okay guys, let's go ahead and take the toilet up. Okay, so now your next step, you can take some paper towels or newspaper, anything, and what I like to do is, see, I don't have much paper towel here, do I? I'm just gonna kind of ball this up. I wish, you know what, I guess we have some there's some magazines there. Maybe I should do that because I'd like to save this to clean up the wax. Okay, so I'm gonna take some magazine, I think, smash it all up and put it in there, because what you don't want to do is drop something down there. Your putty knife, your pliers, you know, your crescent wrench, your spanner wrench, your pliers, anything like that, a nut and bolt, or even part of the wax ring. Okay, because then possibly you won't be able to reach down in there and pull it out. Okay, so I'm going to get something, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a big ball of stuff and shove it down in there so I make sure nothing happens there. Okay, don't forget, very important. Got a magazine here, and you know, it's an old one. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, people. Okay. See, now I can kind of shove that down in there. Ooh, a little bit tighter, maybe. That. Okay. There. Like so. Get my putty knife and push it down in there a little bit. Like that. Beautiful. Okay. There we go. There.